Welcome, welcome, welcome to Tea Time with Kitty. Welcome all. Giving everyone a second to get all logged in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And let's get ready for today's interesting topic. I'm going to show you one of my shirts. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Welcome to everyone as we're getting all logged in on this beautiful Wednesday. It's such a beautiful day outside. I believe yesterday was the first day of spring. Giving everyone just a second before we get started. Move my flowers out your way a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna get ready to get started. I do want to tell everybody happy Easter. Happy Easter, everyone. Happy Easter to you. As we continue to celebrate the month of March with the March birthdays, today is one of my closest friends who I call sister. Today is her birthday. Our friendship goes back to, I believe, I was about 9 years old. She is one of the most genuine, loyal people that I know. And I just want to take this second to shout out and say happy birthday, Tiffany. Through ups and downs, ins and out, our love for one another has not wavered. And I am so proud to call you my sister. I thank God that you are in your strengthened season, that He is restoring you, and all things shall be great. So happy birthday, Tiffany. Second, I would like to say congratulations to my sister Karen on her 20-year anniversary, 20 years of service with DHS, Department of Human Services. So hey sis, congratulations to you on your 20 years of service with DHS. So today we're going to be talking about interviewing, and we're going to dig a little into interviewing and what that looks like. I do want to remind you all that we are down to, I think, the last six tickets. So if anybody is still pondering on coming with us, you're welcome, sis. Please feel free to join us for the shopping trip on not this Saturday, but next Saturday. And even if it's not about shopping and you just want to get away to clear your mind and to have some fresh air and to have a nice lunch or dinner date with yourself. So we're talking about interviewing, okay? And we're going to look at some things that making interviewing super special. And techniques, hey sis, and techniques for being a great interviewer. So I'm going to ask some questions, and you all can just kind of respond to me. And we just want to know some things that affect you, that may affect you with interviewing or may not. And what does that relate to you? Hello. Now, first and foremost, is there anybody that is a good interviewer? So what I mean by that is you someone that you can pretty much, hey, Chucky, you can pretty much knock an interview out the pocket. Like, is there anyone that's a good interviewer? Or is there anyone that gets, okay, Dayon says she is, or is there anyone that gets anxiety around interviewing? Because we know that stress can be good or bad. A lot of people associate some stress with anxiety as well. So some of us kind of are hit a word test or hit a word interviewing, and things just kind of go down from there. I get anxiety and still do well. Okay, great. Okay, so anyone else, what is your feel on interviewing? You may be someone that hasn't interviewed in a long time. Now, please be mindful that interviewing is not only for a job. Some of us interview to get in organizations. Some of us interviewing when you're becoming a foster or adopted parent. Some of us do interviewing when we're doing backgrounds. So there's different forms of interviewing. You may be being interviewed for someone else as well. The interviewer would be the opposite of the person being interviewed. The interviewee. The interviewee, yes. So the interviewer, if I say interviewer, thank you for correcting me. Did I say interviewer? Okay, so we're speaking of the interviewee right now. So we're speaking of the person that's being interviewed. So would you say that you are a good interviewee, Christian, when it's time to be interviewed? Do you feel like you're that good person? And we're going to talk about some qualities that make you be a good person. Okay, so we're going to talk about both though, Christian. So first, we're talking about the person who's, hey sis, we're talking about the person that's being interviewed. And then we're going to talk about people interviewing people. So I am someone that conducts interviews. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But because most of us have interviewed at some point in our life, even sometimes to get into a college or the school that we want, we're starting here. I don't like to interview. I still keep it professional. Hey, Shamika. Okay. So some techniques. So first and foremost, we're going to ask a few questions on what would you be looking for if you were the person conducting the interview. So you're the one that's offering the person a job or have the ability to have some input on someone getting the job. We're going to ask you first, what is the most important thing that you look at when you are conducting an interview, when you are interviewing someone? What is the most important thing that you will look at? What is the most important thing? Are you looking at experience? Are you looking at education? Are you looking at the way the person presents themselves? Are you looking at it being someone thank you, Donald, that you already know? Because sometimes we all know and we've heard before that sometimes, even though 10 people may interview for a job, they've already had somebody selected for that position. And sometimes it's just protocol, right? So if you were the person conducting an interview, what would you be looking for? A person not appearing to be annoyed or frustrated with the process. Answers sound authentic and directly related to the potential position. Experience and knowledge related to the job. Okay, I'll take that. Well, how much does someone appearance mean to you? Meaning that not if they're ugly or cute, not if they're skinny or fat, but to the point where someone is really putting some time into what they wore to the interview. And we're going to kind of talk about colors a little bit. Like, what are some good colors to wear to an interview, as opposed to some colors that you should not wear, or some things that you should not wear to an interview? Well, Mom, you would need to have all what you need to say on the list of paper. I have everything in front of me and ready. Okay, so that's really great, Shamika. And we know that we're just coming out of a virtual interviewing world where probably 90% of jobs were virtual. But now that we are getting back into the normal things, you are kind of in front of people now doing interviews again. And I don't know. We're going to hear from Tea Time. What do you all think about someone getting their answers from off a sheet of paper? Hey, sis. Personable kindness, especially in a team setting. Second, knowledgeable. Okay, I definitely like that. Being personable, because that has a lot of bearing on what I'm looking at. Because you can kind of look at body language. I like to believe that when people are doing like resumes or reference letters, you can kind of jiggle those up a little bit, because for the most part, most jobs are probably not calling everything that's on your resume, right? So therefore, I think appearance is important, right? So will somebody please drop in the chat, somebody's, what is an appropriate color to wear to an interview? What is a color that if you were going on an interview, what is a color that you would wear? Tell me some good interviewing colors. I am more of a black slacks or a black skirt. I guess I would just say black bottom. I used to be more of a white top, but now I will do like a nice soft color with the black. And sometimes I'll tone it down with a black blazer on top. Does anybody have a color that they prefer to wear when they're going to an interview? Are you still on those basic colors? Or is anybody a more of a bolder person with an interview and you're willing to wear an orange shirt or a pair of orange slacks? Do you feel that that has anything to do with the bearing of the interview. I wouldn't care about colors as long as dressed professionally or attempted to. Some people who are new to the workforce truly don't know, but can be taught to dress more professionally. Okay, okay. Someone new to the workforce. Okay, I'll take that. So I am someone who definitely feel that people should put a little bit more emphasis on what they wear to an interview. So I know that people are young and everybody doesn't have everything. So I'm not looking for an expensive wardrobe or you being shocked. But the fact that you are caring enough about yourself to put a little bit into what you're wearing, because if you are going on an interview, a lot of times you at least have about a high school education. 'Cause most kids are in high school when they're looking for jobs on up. And I'm thinking that schools, if not schools, parents should be telling kids or at least trying to assist them in what some of those professional things may look like. I won't judge an attire too much because everybody life not the same. Long as it's business casual like a dress shirt. Okay, got it. Orange pants is risky to me. When I was younger, I loved Navy at Hampton. We only were allowed to wear a full black suit, suit or skirts only. Okay, so Hampton pretty much kind of groomed you all into what you should wear on a uniform on an interview. Do you stick to that now that you've been gone away from Hampton for maybe 9 years now? Maybe do you still look at that? And always dress to impress. I like that, Shamika, always dressing to impress. And it doesn't have to be fancy, or extra fancy or anything of that nature, but just being presentable, making sure what you have on is truly neat and presentable, unless you're trying to be a cop. Okay, so that's a good point. Soft blue, tan, green, soft colors and tops, basic, and that's where I'm at with it, sis, too. I may do a little softer shirt, but definitely stick to the darker bottom. I like dark, solid colors, not nothing too loud. So, Christian, you raised a really good point because what you wear on an interview should have some bearing on the job that you're interviewing for. So, what you may wear on an interview to McDonald's for your first job may not be what you wear on an interview if you're going to become an accountant at a big firm, right? No, I don't always wear black suits. Ever since I saw a lawyer wear a bomb bright red suit in court, and she was super professional and won the case. Okay, so you can be bold in what you wear. Okay, so how important is okay? So we kind of really digged in really good with the interviewing, and I'm glad to hear that we're not biased. Because at one time years ago, especially being an African American woman, it was challenging securing jobs because of our hair. Those of us who have natural hair, wore bush, who wore locks, they were not always welcome in the workforce, right? Or acceptable in some agencies. And a lot of men, I know it was a man who did a lawsuit, an African American man, for having dreads, and they wanted him to cut his dreads. So I'm definitely glad to see that we're not biased about that and that we are open to seeing things differently now and know that people comes in different colors, with different backgrounds and transitions, and that we're open minded for being professional. So not just a look, but neatness and cleanness and just taking some time for yourself. Because if I had my own business, I would want to hire someone who looks like that they take time for themselves, because 9 times out of 10, if you're not willing to care for yourself, chances are you caring about my company will probably be a little slim to none. Let's see. There's another thing you have to be mindful of: who's on the interview panel. Okay, what do you all think about that? Who's on the interview panel? Is that important? Is that important? I was working at a particular place, and there was a person that worked there with me, and this person was super duper unprofessional. I wouldn't say not smart, because I do think the person had a good skill set, but she was super unprofessional. And they offered her a position as a supervisor. And she came to the interview in a pair of jeans and a white man's t-shirt. So a milk white t-shirt. She came to the interview with a few stains on her shirt. And she did get the job because I guess she pretty much knew that she was getting the job. And that's probably why she came that way. This is pretty much how she dressed for work prior to obtaining that position, as well as how she dressed after getting the position. So I guess who's on a panel makes a big difference, because you kind of know that, hey, this person is on a panel, so I know that I can definitely count on getting this position. Sometimes you play the game until you get in the door, and can be more lenient to people like you. Okay, if you were being interviewed by an older person, they will want to see you dressed in your Sunday's best because that's what they are used to. Yes, yes, yes. A lot of times older people, and I have to be mindful when I'm interviewing as well, because I definitely love young candidates. Like I definitely love new people coming into the workforce, but at the same time, I try to make sure I'm not being judgmental for those ones who is a little different, has a little different approach, because I have young children that's in the interviewing world, and I want people to be open to them, because some people want just older with more experience, hoping that you got all your slick days out the way and that they can really have a great employee, right? Now, a lot of times what people don't know is the people that you're interviewing a lot of times are not always the people who make the final decision. A lot of times final decisions for an employment is made based on someone who's not even interviewing you. So that's why it's very important to capture that person and stand out. One particular time I was interviewing, I interviewed like 37, was it 37 or 47 people in one week when we were doing a mass hiring project, right? And if you don't stand out, and we had a lot of positions, but if you don't stand out, it's hard for people to remember you, right? So it's very important to ask questions. Know that you are not only interviewing, not that you're not only being interviewed, but you are also interviewing a company as well. Never feel that you are in a position where you are not comfortable with asking questions because you want this job so bad. Sometimes something that we want so bad cannot be so good. So ask questions. And if they are not open or welcoming to you answering questions, and they're not willing to give you a true and honest response, then you too have a right to decide if you want the job with that company. Now, I know a lot of times we are kind of looking for jobs. A lot of us are looking for jobs when we don't have one. So we're in a mindset of whatever comes our way, we're going to take. So we're going to act super duper uppity for this job. I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just going to get my foot in the door. But make sure you're getting your foot in the right door, right? Make sure you're getting your foot in, and know that you are valuable, because it's so important when you go into an interview to know that you are valuable. Because if you feel like you're not a good fit for this job, or that I've lied on the resume and I don't know what to say next, then chances are your energy may transfer in the interview, right? So please make sure, if you take nothing else with you, take your confidence with you wherever you go, especially on an interview. Sell yourself. Make sure you are selling yourself, because there's probably tons of people interviewing for that same job. Let's see, a good interviewing practice is to always ask questions when they ask, if you have any. It shows you're eager about becoming a part of the team and being knowledgeable. Ask questions. That's absolutely true. And I love when people ask questions. I especially love when they ask me questions that I have to chuckle inside a little bit to myself, because I don't even know the answer to. But I try to be quick on my feet, and I try to come around with some form of response for people. I want to be remembered for having an overall good interview, not my bright yellow stacks. Your bright yellow slacks. Okay, you always ask questions, and always give people a good smile, right? Because sometimes a nice smile can seal a deal, right? It's nothing like, and I've interviewed, oh my gosh, all types of people, right? And when I thought about talking about interviewing today, and as I stated, when we think about interviewing, we pretty much think about a job. But when I contracted with Child and Family Services before coming to DHS, I used to go out and interviewing parents before their children was placed back in their homes. So interviewing is not just for a job, like I said in the beginning, it can be for numerous reasons, right? So you want to be able to be engaging. You want to engage with the interviewer, right? And it's almost like a few minutes to bond because we don't have a lot of time, right? But we want that few minutes to bond. Now let's talk about resumes, right? In order to get to the interview, a lot of times your resume has to get you there before they're even willing to interview you. Tea time. How many pages should your interview? I mean, sorry, it should your resume be? Any takers? How many pages should your resume be? Are you a one-page person? Are you a three-page person? Because I want to make sure you get it all out. Are you a cover letter person? What type of resume person are you when you're applying for a job? Is it a cover letter? Is it a fancy resume? I seen one where they had all the stuff coming down like the side of the paper, and it was just really different and it was lined up, and then everything else was coming across. What what type? Mine is 2 pages. Okay. I think mine is not. I think mine is one page, right? I think mine is one page. So with that being said, anybody else with the number of pages that their resume is? Anybody else? Okay, only do it depends on the job. Excellent, sister. Depends on the job. Most companies one page, art or technical two or three, federal government several. I did not thank you so much for sharing that. Arts or technical is 2 to 3 pages. I never knew that, and I never applied for a federal government job that I can remember. And I didn't know that they were several pages. Wow. Okay, and I think mine may be 2 pages, but I don't have on there. I think correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but I believe it's 10 years that most resumes people want to see 10 years of work history, right? So because I have, maybe I have about 35 years of work history right now. So I don't catch my whole 35 years on my resume. I try to make my resume compatible with the job that I am going for. So, for instance, I worked at McDonald's, I worked at KFC, I worked at CVS, and none of those jobs are on my resume. If I would have captured all the different jobs I had, the younger me, it probably would be about 4 or 5 pages, right? It's just that I have happened to be at DC government here for about 18 years. And then I contracted with CFSA for about 13 years. And I pretty much stayed because at DHS, I've had one, two, three. I've had 4 jobs at DHS over the 18 years. And I had 3 under the contracting with CFSA, with not job. Well, I guess you could say titles or jobs. And I kind of stay in that ballpark and I don't go any further. It's no point of putting the job you had 30 years, right? So I know that some people would put that um, if you don't have a long work history and you just want to get more information on it. But I want to hear from you all. What do you think about that? Even if I don't have a lot of current work history, so I want to go back a little bit more and I want to put um, some of the older jobs on there. Is that okay? Now, another thing that I want us to know with our resumes is it is okay to have a gap in work history. Most people have you being fearful of that, but you could have been a mom that took off for 2 or 3 years to raise your children. You may even talk about some of the trainings that you capture in that gap space. So, for instance, I was a mom. I choose to have my 2 children back to back, and I took off 5 years from the work world, right? But during those 5 years, I took a creative writing class. I took a public speaking course. Make sure you merge those things into your resume, right? So that it doesn't mean all the time that we took time off from working, that we took time off from doing nothing at all. No more than 2 for me. Okay, great. Anything else as it relates to, okay, so now this is your chance. I have been interviewing with my experience with DHS as well as becoming to DHS. I think I may have been interviewing people for probably about, I would say about 25 years, right? Over the past 5 years I have really interviewed people. I'm talking over hundreds of people in the past 5 years. Is there any questions that you would want to ask me as the person that is doing the interview that you may want to ask? Any type of technique, any type of tip, anything that you think that you may want to have as you get ready to prepare, because someone on Tea Time right here today may have to make a job change. It may be a job change of choice or it could be a job change of force, right? But we always want to be prepared. If your resume is not ready to go, please put it in your plan for the next 30 days to have it ready to go. You may come across someone that you know that has a company and you bump into them and they say, "Hey, I got a couple of openings. Send me your resume." Don't be stressed out about who I'm gonna get to do it. Does it look right? Is it work on your resume? If you've been on your new job for more than 2 years and it's not on your resume, you need to update your resume. Please update your resume. Plan the race car work too when the interview is not going your way. What are you talking about? Plan? So you're gonna tell me that the interview not going your way because you black? Oh my gosh, you play too much. Anybody else? Is there anything? And I also wanted to make sure I leave you all with that education is so important, right? Degrees are so important, but do know that 4 years on a job is equivalent to 1 year of college. So do not sell yourself short. Speak to that. Speak to the different capacities of which you work and the things that you've done. Um, because there are jobs out here. It's really a good time to be looking at DC government. There's going to be a lot of changes in the workforce with people coming back full time in the office or almost full time. And a lot of people was able to manage better by having those 2 or 3 telework days. So if they're leaving at a fast pace, there's more opportunities for you to get in now. A lot of times when jobs are posted, they're not posted for long. So if you're waiting to do your resume on the weekend and you go back to dc.gov, the job could be gone, right? So please get out there. If you have any questions, like with anything I pretty much talk about on Tea Time, I'm open to side conversation. I'm open to mock interviews. If you want to call me one day and we do a mock interview over the phone, if you want to do it on Zoom, just to have a chance to relax a little bit, ask some questions and say some things. But most importantly, please make sure that you be the person that you were on the interview when you get the job. That's the number one thing I always tell my staff. Be that person. Remember on the interview, you told me I love customers. So when I asked you to go ask help the customer with this application, and you got your nose turned up saying, I don't know, COVID's still out there. On the interview, you told me you love customers and you want to serve your people. And you also told me on the interview that you were able to de-escalate customers when they are irate. You told me that you will not even call security on them. You can bring them down. So all those techniques that you told me on the interview, I am the person that when I come across you, I want to see you using those skills. Because if you use those skills, I'm going to tell you how proud I am and how you're growing. And if you're not using the skills, I'm going to try to coach and develop you to get you back on that path to utilize. Because if it's a thought in your head or in your heart, maybe you do have it in you. You just don't know what direction to go and how to use it. Another thing, at the end of the interview, when they ask you, what was that question? Why should we hire you? Most of the time, they're going to ask you if you are a good team player, or they're going to ask you why should they hire you. Always try to keep your responses for those 2 questions in your pocket somewhere. Why should I hire you? And a lot of times people choke on those questions, but it's like the oldest trick in an interviewing book. Have something to say because I am reliable. I am loyal. I am dependable. I am a good team player and I love taking the lead. Start having something in your pocket. So right now, another reason why interviewing today was so important to me because I had a meet and greet gala yesterday. And after that, one of my sisters called me up to tell me how much she thinks I'm doing a better job of speaking. So, because I never took a public speaking course and all those types of things, but she told me that she thinks Tea Time is helping me a lot on the platform. So, I'm hoping that it's helping you to be able to talk and to have dialogue and connect and go back and forth. And she told me that you don't say as much as you used to. And my oldest brother would check me at the tea time, was like, you're too much, you're And I used to stay so focused on tea time and just trying not to say because I'm so used to saying it. And he pointed that out, and I tried to do better with that since he pointed that out to me, right? So if you know there are some things that you have issues with or get you a little jiggy or jaggy, then maybe you want to spend some time recording yourself so you can get used to your own voice and get comfortable with your own voice. But just hearing that feedback, because you never know when you have to testify. And I ain't talking about a court case. You might testify in front of city council or anything like that, or just testify as in a good way, right? Yes, love you. Yes. So I just wanted to share those things with you all. I definitely want us to always relax, woosah, and breathe, because what is ours is actually ours. And I am a true believer that if you walk in love and that you act in love, favor is always upon you anyway, right? And the one thing I always say, because I know I'm not the smartest, I know I'm probably not the most qualified, and I know I may not be the next most intelligent. But what I always pray when I go on my interviews, that thank you, sister, that my mouth will say what needs to be said and their ears will hear what needs to be heard. And I have not really gone wrong with that prayer. So if you all are spiritual, or if you just, focus your life off luck or whatever the case may be equipped with wherever you go in life. And I wish you the best. And if this is your season for changing to your employment, make sure you take it under careful consideration, and that you do some background on the company, and that you clear some things out with yourself, and that you will have the best opportunity and experience possible. Thank you all so much for sipping with a sister. And I look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday. Have a great week. Thank you.